We are discussing about how to use Python to automate project management tools on Excel worksheet. This video is related to Gantt chart. Overall process goes with 3 steps. Firstly, scheduled data are populated on Excel worksheet. Python program is run from Excel. Secondly, the Python program starts from reading scheduled data, performs critical path analysis, and creates schedule bars and connectors. Finally, Gantt chart is viewed along with critical path analysis result on the same Excel worksheet. It is assumed that Visual Studio Code is installed as Python code editor and interpreter. Essential libraries are installed: NumberPy, Pandas, xlwings, and PyMsgBox. If not installed yet, you can install them. To install the library, for example, NumberPy, open command prompt. Go to path where the package installer for Python, pip, is available. Type pip install NumberPy on it. We have 3 parts for details. Part 1 is focused on Python syntax, methods used for the Gantt chart program. If you are familiar with Python, you may proceed to Part 2 directly and come back as deems necessary. Part 2 is presenting Python code of the program, step by step. Part 3 is about user interface and macro in Excel to run Python program. Part 1 deals with Python syntax rules and methods, focusing on actual codes of Gantt chart program. 16 topics are chosen to help understand actual coding of the program. Python supports many kinds of data: integer, floating point number, string, list, tuple, set, dictionary, and so on. Each kind of data is an object, and each object has a type, an internal data representation, a set of procedures for interaction with the object. An object is an instance of a type. For example, 123 is an instance of an integer. Management enclosed by quote or double quote is an instance of string. Python uses simple variable containing a single value like other program languages. Multiple items are stored in a single variable also. Depending on how the multiple items are structured internally, Python provides several useful data structures: list, set, strings, tuples, dictionary. An example indicates tuple to store 7 weekdays inside round brackets for a single variable day name short. 9th topic of part 1 is concerned with the tuple. For in loop is very similar to those found in other programming languages. The for in loops can be replaced with Python's functional programming technique. The tools that Python provides to develop functional programming comprise a series of functions: map, filter, reduce, lambda, list comprehension. List comprehension is preferably used in the Gantt chart program. An example shows how list or series of start dates are converted into date data excluding time, using list comprehension rather than using for in loop. Here give high-level features of libraries essential to the program we are discussing about. Firstly, NumberPy is a Python library and is written partially in Python, but most of the parts that require fast computation, for example for in loop, are written in C or C++. The NumberPy provides a significant feature that will be added to the standard Python. Python for in loops are slower than their C or C++ counterpart because Python is an interpreted language and most of the implementation is slow. This disadvantage of Python is overcome by NumberPy's C implementation of arrays in Python, providing vectorized actions rather than for in loop iteration, scalar action, on NumberPy arrays. Pandas is built on top of NumberPy, without which Pandas does not work. The fundamental concept of Pandas is the DataFrame, a two-dimensional tabular data structure with row and column labels based on data in spreadsheets or in relational databases, SQL database. Scheduled data and calendar data on Excel sheets are stored in the DataFrame. In short, Pandas combines the high-performance properties of the NumberPy library to apply them to the manipulation of the DataFrame. xlwings is a bridge connecting Excel with Python and makes it easy to call Python from Excel and vice versa. Number py arrays and pandas series, data frames are fully supported. In xlwings there are 4 main object types which are, from top in hierarchical order, app representing an Excel instance, book, sheet and range. In addition to these, Gantt chart program deals with shape object to draw Gantt chart consisting of bar and connector. Datetime module supplies classes for manipulating dates and times. 2 main object types are used, date, time delta. Calendar module is referenced to use month range method for obtaining the number of days in month, for the specified year and month. To allow Python to get access to required library, it is necessary to import the library explicitly. To do this, import statement is used. And a keyword as is used to create an alias. For example, to reference to pandas with the alias. Import pandas as PD. Custom module is Python file with .py extension, for instance, Gantt function.py, which contains functions to be referenced by main program. The module can be accessed to any needed function using import statement followed by star. From Gantt function import asterisk. If an object in Python is not a data type of its own, it is necessary to reference to a module to work with the object. For example, date in Python is not a data type of its own. We import the date function explicitly from module named datetime. From datetime import date. Variables are containers for storing data values. A variable is created before you first assign a value to it. Some variables are used in many places and are better to be declared at top of program. We may call these variables as constant variables. This arrangement make easy future modification of the program. Multiple items, collections of data are stored in a single variable or a constant using Python built-in data types such as list, tuple, set and dictionary. One example is weekdays short consisting of 7 first letter of weekday name contained in a tuple. You can access tuple item by referring to the index number inside square brackets. Weekdays underscore short 2 evaluates to W. If you want to specify data type of a variable, cast the data type, for example, column number or row number are to be integer. Start call equals int 12. Pandas has API options to configure and customize global behavior related to data frame display, data behavior, and more. The API options and settings used for this program are: Set expand frame representation to print data frame on single line. This setting is used when you do test run of Python program without Excel. Set chained assignment mode to none to get around a warning setting with copy warning. The warning is raised when a value is trying to be set on a copy of a slice from a data frame. The warning is overridden by applying this option. To work with Excel, the first thing to do is connect a workbook to Python. There are a couple of libraries to this end. There was some try with other libraries, but xlwings is recommended library for Excel file of XLSM extension which include Excel VBA macro. 2 ways are possible to establish a connection to a workbook. Choice is dependent upon where to run Python program. When running Python from Excel, use book, caller, method. This does not require to specify workbook to be connected. When running directly in the Python, give Excel file name as book's parameter. After activating the workbook, worksheet, by specifying the name of the sheet inside square brackets of sheets, where data resides. After establishing connection to Excel file, the first thing to do is to read Excel data and store the data in one of Python data type for further processing. To read Excel data, use pandas read Excel method by specifying as parameters: Excel file name, worksheet name. Columns where data are written. Rows to be skipped as necessary. If Excel data range not related to data are the first top 2 rows, set skip rows equals 2. We read Excel data so that the specified Excel data are stored in a pandas data frame, a variable named `data, for example. The data frame is a two-dimensional tabular data structure with row and column labels based on data in Excel worksheet. Each column represents something called a series. An index is associated with each row. A name is associated with each column. These names play a role like that of keys in dictionaries. At this stage, we need to take note of data type stored in the data frame. Blank string cell is stored as not a number. The not a number is the float type, not string. Date data is stored with type of datetime while blank date cell is stored with type of NAT. The incongruency in the type of data of the same column requires to cast data type. A series, one-dimensional sequence of values, is created by selecting a single column of the data frame. Square brackets are the primary mechanism for selecting parts of a data frame. Select a single column of a data frame by specifying a column name within the square brackets and produce series as the type of this object. A series is a one-dimensional sequence of values, each is labeled by an index. The differential of two lists is produced conventionally by subtracting each row items of the same index iteratively. Alternatively, the differential of the two series is obtained by subtracting a series from another series using math operator, minus. This is an example of number piecewise vectorization action. A sequence of activities late finish dates minus a sequence of activities early finish dates evaluates to a sequence of activities float values. A good pandas data frame manipulation is select rows based on their contents using something called Boolean indexing. The basic idea is to write a logical expression referring to values contained in the data frame. Use lock property and logical expression is written inside the square brackets as the index of lock property. That expression is then evaluated on each row of the data frame, and the rows for which it evaluates to true are selected. As an example of using lock property, let's create a filtered new series, holidays. Filtering expression, CalData, type, == holiday, is written inside the square brackets of lock property, and the elements in CalData, date, of the rows for which the filtering expression evaluates to true are returns as a new filtered series and stored in a variable, holidays. A single item from the series is selected by placing an index within square brackets of the values property of the series. Index 0 refers to the first holiday of the new series. Elements index can be extracted using index.values property by placing an index within the square brackets of index values property of the series. A new data frame is created iteratively using lock property. As the first step, invoke a new data frame using pandas data frame constructor. Column names are given for the new data frame. Next, initiate the first row index, n=0. Find values iteratively row after row and form a list. Finally, the list of values are assigned to the data frame locks row number iteratively. In the program, this method is adopted to make complete one-to-one predecessor-successor related data frame. Data frame and series consist of many rows, and to analyze the data, we can write coding in the iterative way conventionally. Here we are discussing about some useful methods which can replace the iteration in the program. The is in method checks if data frame or series contains the specified values. It returns a data frame or a series similar to original data frame or series, but the original values have been replaced with true if the value was one of the specified values, otherwise false. Preds is a series for all predecessors and acts is a series for all activities. The code evaluates to a series of true or false replacing the values of preds if acts are contained in the preds. If the result is to be negated to perform a not in, to filter the data frame on a single column, use the pandas unary operator. The code evaluates to a series of true or false replacing the values of preds if acts are not contained in the preds. If you want to return a new series of true predecessors, the code is used as index of preds. Predecessors need to refer to activities only. The code will find any predecessor not from activities. Method duplicated returns a series with true and false values that describe which rows in the data frame or series are duplicated or not. Schedule activities should be unique. Need to find the duplicated activities so that the duplicates may be highlighted for your action to remove them. Number py.setDiff1d function finds the set difference of two arrays, array 1 and array 2, and return the unique values in array 1 that are not in array 2. Array 1 is input array and array 2 is input comparison array. This method is used to compare column's name of your worksheet with column's name written in this program. Column name on the worksheet is required to match with that of the program code. IsNull method returns a DataFrame object where all the values are replaced with a Boolean value true for null values, and otherwise false. When pandas reads Excel data, the blank cells are stored as NaN or NAT for number and date respectively. To find the blank cells referring to the data frame, we use IsNull method. The method is used to find activity whose period is not given. Every activity should be given its period. The apply method allows you to apply a function along one of the axes of the data frame or a series and acts as a map function in Python. As discussed earlier, blank cells of worksheet are evaluated to an NaN or NAT, which are of float type when other cells are of string type. By adding the apply str to element in a series or a data frame, the NaN of float type is changed to string type. Lists are one of 4 built-in data types in Python used to store collections of data. Lists are created using square brackets. List items are ordered, changeable, and allow duplicate values. List items are indexed, the first item has index 0, the second item has index 1, etc. Two methods for looping through a list in the forward direction are possible. One way is loop through item by item directly using for in loop. Another way is loop through the index numbers of the list elements and return item by item with index number inside square brackets of list. Loop through in the backwards direction, iterating from end element to start element in a step by -1. The backwards looping is used for backward pass analysis for late schedule computation. Like forwards looping, two methods are possible for backwards looping. Method 1 is based on each list item, starting from end item which is represented by blank list, in a step by -1. Method 2 is based on index number of each element in the list. The start index number is len, list, -1. The end index number is 0. The range method requires -1 to make end index 0. In a step by -1. Create a new list iteratively using append method. Create a new empty list with blank square bracket. Make list element iteratively using for loop. Add the element at the end of the new list by appending the list element created. Python's zip function creates an iterator that will aggregate elements from 2 or more iterables. If the past iterators have different lengths, the iterator with the least items decides the length of the new iterator. Finally, to retrieve the final list object, you need to use the list method with zip expression as parameter. To make 3-tier schedule template, create 3 lists, that is, month, year, date, weekday. And create a list that combine 3 lists, elements are in rows and each list name are column name. Transpose function returns an array with axis transposed, for example from vertical to horizontal. The list combining 3 lists using zip function are oriented to horizontal direction by using transpose function. Conventionally, we can iterate over a series using a for in loop consisting of multiple lines. For element in iterable, conditional statement, as required, followed by expression in next line. Alternatively, list comprehension provides a concise way to apply an operation to the sequence values provided by iterating over an iterable value. List comprehension is enclosed by square bracket with one-line statement consisting of first, expression, second, for-in loop statement and lastly followed by conditional statement. Iteration with nested for-in loop, two loops with outer loop and inner loop, can be implemented by list comprehension with two square brackets. Inner for-in loop and its expression is captured in inner square brackets of list comprehension, which is called nested list comprehension. Outer for-in loop is enclosed inside outer square brackets and placed at end of list comprehension. A tuple is a collection which is ordered and unchangeable. When we say that tuples are ordered, it means that the items have a defined order, and that order will not change. Tuples are written with round brackets. Tuple items are indexed, the first item has index 0, the second item has index 1, etc. An example of tuple in the program is related to weekday name. Collection of weekday names are inside round brackets, a tuple, as a variable in order. A date.weekday method evaluates to the date's weekday number, 0 to 6. The number is taken as the index of the weekdays to evaluates to the corresponding weekday name. Sets are used to store multiple items in a single variable. A set is a collection which is unordered, unchangeable, and unindexed. A set is enclosed with curly brackets. Duplicates not allowed. In other words, set cannot have two items with the same value. Predecessors are stored in a set and another set is for successors. Set of predecessors minus set of successors evaluates to a list of activities which are used only for predecessor. The activities represents project start activities. Set of successors minus set of predecessors evaluates to a list of activities which are used only for successors. The activities represent the project end activities. The project start activities are considered in forward pass analysis while project end activities are considered in backward analysis. Multiple values separated by separator, for example, comma, are entered in a single cell of worksheet. DataFrame stores the multiple elements as a single string. Thus, it is required to divide the single string into each identifiable element. Use split method to do so. An example code is used in the Gantt chart program. Two ways are illustrated, one with the for-in loop iteration and another with list comprehension. List comprehension is one-line statement while iteration way is made up of 4 lines. Split elements may contain space and it is necessary to remove any leading spaces at the beginning and trailing spaces at the end of a string object. Use strip method to do so. Pandas reads and stores date data in worksheet in a data frame whose type is timestamp comprising date and time value. Activities period is added to calculate finish date starting from start date for forward pass analysis, and the period is deducted from end date to calculate start date for backward pass analysis. The period is integer object. The integer value should not be directly added or deducted from timestamp. Instead, we use time delta function with period as an argument. A time delta object represents a duration, the difference between two dates or times. Project schedules consider days as period and time delta method has only days given as an argument. The calculated date is of timestamp type. The timestamp is converted to schedule date without time value by using date method. Weekday function of datetime.date class in Python return integer for the weekday. A tuple is created with all weekday names as a variable for the program. To return the weekday name of a date, refer to the index number which weekday function returns. Date method is used to return datetime.date object consisting of year month date, excluding hour minute second. Time delta as calculated is represented by integer plus days as unit. To return values only without unit, we use days property. First day of month of a date is obtained by using date method with year, month, and day 1 as parameters. Last day of month of timestamp is obtained by using date method for 1 day before the first day of next month. Number of days in a specific month can be found using month range method. The month range method is used to get weekday of first day of the month and the number of days in month. To obtain the number of days in month, give the index 1. The month range method is in calendar module and need reference to it. Use DT days to calculate difference between two dates and the number of days. PyMsgBox module and its function is used to alert any runtime error. Warning message is popped up on Excel worksheet when program encounters runtime error. The program we are discussing uses alert method, easy and simple. An example is to find any duplicate in defined activities. If duplicate is found, warning box is popped up and press OK button to abort program run. Remove the duplicated activities in your input before rerun the program. After critical path analysis, its result is to be written to Excel. To do so, wrap up the result in DataFrame form using Pandas DataFrame method. Next, specify Excel range to write it on. Finally, assign the DataFrame data to the Excel range. xlwings is capable of automating Excel formatting. The automation is to cater for dynamic adjustment in Excel format in line with program result. We are introducing some methods required to support the dynamics. Find last column by using last_cell column property. Find last row number by using end row property. Delete cells by using delete method. Merge cells by using merge method. Define cell color by giving RGB combination to cell's color property. Set rows height giving row height to API.rowHeight property. Set cell contents vertical alignment using API vertical alignment property. Use width property to find a cell's column width and point. Use column_width property to set cell or range's column width to a value and point. Cell border weight is set using borders.weight property and border color is set using borders.color. Font in the cell is oriented using API.orientation property. Gantt chart is rendered with two shapes, one is rectangle for making schedule bar and another is connector for relationship. Schedule bar represents its activity, start date, duration. Connector represents activity's relationship with its predecessor. Schedule bar is created by using addShape method for rectangle of type 1. Position is set by setting the left and top position of the rectangle in point as unit on Excel worksheet. Left is the start date and top represents the row of the activity. Width is decided to cover the activity's period. The type of shape is class xlwings _ windows.com retry_object wrapper. Z-order method is used to send a shape back or bring it forward. The Z-order method is used to send a shape back so that a connector is not hidden by the shape. Relationship between activities is represented by connection of activity bar with predecessor activity bar. Connector is added using addConnector method. Elbow connector of type 2 is better suited to Gantt chart than straight connector. Begin coordinate and end coordinate are arbitrary, not necessary to be specific for now till we discuss begin and end of connector are glued to the schedule bars. Connector end arrowhead style is selected to Stealth Bomber 4. Connector is glued to shapes using connector format class. Two shapes are concerned to glue a connector between them. One shape where connector begins and another where connector ends. In Gantt chart, begin shape is for predecessor and end shape is for activity. Need to connect to predecessor bar using begin connect method. In contrast, need to connect to activity bar using end connect method. The begin connect and the end connect method accepts two arguments. First is shape object to be connected. Second is connection site of the shape to be connected. This is determined by the relationship logic. For example, fs logic is represented by site 4 in begin bar and by site 2 in end bar. Table illustrates how to connect shapes per different relationship logic. The Python program is written using built-in types such as integer, float, str, list, tuple and dictionaries without giving any thought to how these types might be implemented. Uses methods and attributes associated with those built-in types. New functions are defined without creating new types. We are discussing 21 steps following the code as written. New types can be created using classes. The same Gantt chart program will be migrated based on using the class and will be presented separately. Users need to develop and populate two worksheets, one with schedule data and another with project calendar data, as other Gantt chart programs. Schedule data are contained in a worksheet named CPA and project calendar data are in a worksheet named calendar. Schedule data are populated with essential data required to perform critical path analysis and to display realistic Gantt chart. Data columns are in row 3 and schedule data starts from row 4. Activity identifications are unique without duplicates. Predecessor refers only to defined activity identification and multiple predecessors are in a single cell separated by comma. Every activity needs period. Start needs to enter start date for project start activity. Project start activity is characterized with activity without predecessor. Relationship logic needs to be defined for each predecessor. Multiple relationships need to be entered in a single cell separated by comma. Time lag needs to be defined for each predecessor. Multiple time lags need to be entered in a single cell separated by comma. Project calendar is in a table with two groups, weekday and holiday. As to weekday group, 7 weekdays are offered with hours to work each. Weekday of 0 hours is considered as non-work days. Date data of every project holiday within expected project overall schedule are entered. Place the Excel file in the same folder where Python files will be placed. Open Visual Studio Code. Open a new folder where Python modules to be created are going to be placed along with Excel working file. Create a new file and give a meaningful name with extension py, for example Gantt.py. Create another file, GanttFunction.py, as placeholder to write functions to be referred to by Gantt.py. Import libraries, modules to be referenced. To allow an intended program to access reference libraries, modules, and objects from other module than Python own, we need to import them. NumPy is written partially in Python, but most of the parts that require fast computation, for example for in loop, are written in C or C++. Create an alias for NumPy as np. Pandas reads Excel data and stores it in the DataFrame. Pandas combines the high-performance properties of the NumPy library to apply them to the manipulation of series and DataFrame. Create an alias for Pandas as PD. xlwings is selected to play a bridging role in connecting Excel with Python. Create an alias for xlwings as xw. GanttFunction.py is a Python module we are going to develop to locate functions to support main program, Gantt.py. Time delta and date objects are available in datetime module. Month range is available in calendar module. We will import strictly necessary functions for the functioning of the program by using the syntax from plus library name plus import plus function name. For example, from datetime import time delta and so on. Variables to be used in many places are declared at top of program. This arrangement helps facilitate future modification of the program by users. Multiple items, collections of data are stored in a single variable using built-in data type, tuple. Dayname short, months are kind of the variable. An element of the variable is extracted referring to index of the variable. Data type of a variable is specified by casting the data type, for example int 12. Pandas has API options to configure and customize global behavior related to data frame display. By default, only a subset of columns is displayed to the standard output when a data frame is printed. In order to display all the columns in just one line all, we need to set the display option expand_frame_repr to false. A warning setting with copy warning is raised when a value is trying to be set on a copy of a slice from a data frame. To get around the warning, set chained assignment mode to none. Establish a connection to a working Excel file containing schedule data and project calendar in two worksheets named CPA and calendar respectively. The program is intended for the working Excel file to run Python eventually. To connect with Excel file, use book.caller method. But for the time being till finishing our discussion, Python runs the program starting from establishing connection to Excel file. Give Excel file name as a parameter for xlwings book method, followed by instantiation of the Excel file, WB, and instantiate each worksheet by giving worksheet name as sheets index, WS1 and WS2 respectively. We need to ensure that worksheet name CPA, calendar exists. If not existing, an error occurs to stop Python. To do so, this exception can be handled using the try statement. If the try block raises an error, the except block will be executed and call alertsheet function to be written in Gantt function module. MsgBox is generated using alert method of PyMsgBox module and press OK to abort program run for fixing the error. Use exit method of sys module. Read and pre-processing Excel data. Read Excel data using Pandas read Excel method. Give the name of Excel file located in the same folder as Python program Gantt.py, sheet name, data columns range, and start row by specifying skip rows. Schedule data covers columns A to K and starting row is row 3, requiring skip rows equals 2. Project calendar data covers columns A to D and starting row from top row, no need to specify skip rows. Store the Excel data in a Pandas data frame named SCH-data and CAL-data, respectively. We need to take note of data type stored in the data frame. Blank string cell is stored as NaN, not a number. The NaN is the float type, not string. Date data is stored with type of datetime while blank date cell is stored with type of NAT. The incongruency in the type of data of the same column requires to cast data type to string. It is necessary to ensure that users' data are correctly entered. Column names on Excel worksheet need be identical with those used in the program. If you want to have your preferred naming of columns different from sample Excel file in the worksheet, you need to modify the program to match with the column name in the worksheet. Alert match function in Gantt function module is called to check whether or not match. Number pysetDiffid method is used to find columns with different label. Activity identification should be unique. No duplicates are accepted. Alert duplicate function in Gantt function module is called to find any duplicate activities. Duplicate function is used to this end. Every activity should be offered with period data. The alert period blank function in Gantt function module is called If period is left blank, sch data is returned with not a number. To find not a number, isNull method is used. Project start activity requires start date entry. The alert date entry function in Gantt function module is called. Project start activity has no predecessor assigned. If the start date of the project start activity is left blank, sch data is returned with not a number or not a time. isNull method is used to find not a number or not a time. Multiple predecessors, separated by comma, in a cell are converted into a list consisting of individual predecessor using split method. Considering not a number, of float type, not of string, for the blank predecessors, we need to cast the predecessors in a cell into string using apply str method. Two-dimensional array is created. When comma is used as separator, users tend to press space followed by comma to be removed. Strip method is used for each individual predecessor in two-dimensional array. Predecessors calls custom function, remove underscore space, in order to remove the leading or trailing space. Many lines of code are written to implement a simple operation. Instead of many lines of code based on for and loop, list comprehension provides a concise way to play the same role with a single line of code. Inner for and loop and strip method expression is captured in inner square brackets of list comprehension, that is, nested list comprehension. The list comprehension with nested list comprehension eliminates the custom function, remove underscore space function. Relationship needs to be complete. Otherwise default relationship is fs. Time lag needs to be complete. Otherwise default time lag is 0 days. For this purpose, match underscore pred function is created. Project holidays and non-work weekdays. The logical expression, value of type column is holiday, is written inside square brackets of log function, Boolean indexing. The rows for which the expression evaluates to true are selected. Finally, values in date column of the selected rows make a filtered new series, holidays. Similarly, a filtered new series, non-workdays, is values in note column of the rows for which type is weekday and hours is 0. Period is added to activity start date when activity end date is to be calculated. The holidays and non-work weekdays are not included in the amount of period when we calculate activity end date. Start date should not be one of holidays or not be one of non-work weekdays. Activity period is the number of working days only. Activity end date is based on the number of working days with holidays and non-work weekdays not counted as activity period. Custom function end date function is designed to consider the holidays and non-work weekdays. Two cases are considered depending on whether or not start date itself is counted in period. In counting period, time lag consider from next date of the start date while activity period consider from start date. Create a data frame of predecessor-successor data to facilitate analysis. Transform original data frame with one to multiple information in a row, one activity with multiple predecessor activities, for example, to a new data frame with one-to-one information, 0 any activity with one predecessor activity, in each row. For this purpose, a custom function, pslist, is created, along with predecessor data validation. Time lag data for other than fs relationship logic are converted to data equivalent to fs logic. For ss logic, ss time lag minus predecessors period. For ff logic, ff time lag minus successors period. For sf logic, sf time lag minus predecessors period plus successors period. While we are creating the new data frame, we need to check to ensure data validity. Predecessor activity should be defined earlier than successor activity. A data frame with one-to-one predecessor-successor, each in a row, is created through data transformation of original data frame, sch data, read and stored with one to multiple information in a row. Time lag for other than fs is converted to fs equivalent time lag, and activity ID for each predecessor and each successor activity is added to the data frame. Predecessors need to refer to defined activities only. To find any predecessors not from the defined activities, call alert reference function. The addin method combined with pandas unary operator is used. The addin method and pandas unary operator are discussed in detail in Part 1. Project start activities and project end activities can be found taking advantage of the feature of one Python structure type, set, rather than for in-loop iteration. Set does not allow duplicates. In other words, set cannot have two items with the same value. Predecessors are stored in a set and another set is for successors. Start activity is activity for which predecessor is not involved. Set for predecessor minus set for successor evaluates to the activity without predecessor, that is, project start activity. End activity is activity for which successor is not involved. Set for successor minus set for predecessor evaluates to the activity without successor, that is, project end activity. Project start activity is a starting point for forward pass analysis, while project end activity is a starting point for backward pass analysis. Early schedule, early start date and early finish date is calculated along forward pass, starting from project start activity. Project start activity can be identified using for in-loop iteration, conventional way with nested loop, or using lock function without need of nested loop. This program is based on using lock function with a need of nested loop. The start date of project start activity is given on Excel worksheet and its finish date is calculated by calling endDate function. The actual finish date of every predecessor is found, and fs equivalent time lag is added to the actual finish date in order to evaluate to activity's possible start date. Pandas timestamp method is used to convert datetime 64 ns into date type of timestamp. To allow activity to start, all of its predecessors must be finished. Use max method to evaluate to the latest finish date of activity's predecessors. The early start date of the activity, ES, is 1 working day after the latest finish date of its predecessors. The parameter included, of the end date function is set to false. Activity's finish date is calculated by calling endDate function. Late schedule, late start and late finish is calculated along backward pass, starting from project end activity, traversing schedule data in the reverse order. Project end activity can be identified using for in-loop iteration, conventional way with nested loop, or using lock function without need of nested loop. This program is based on using lock function. Late start and late finish of the project end activity is identical with early start and early finish date of the same activity. A successor of an activity can start only after the activity is finished. This means that activity must finish before earliest start date of its successors. Fs equivalent time lag is subtracted from activity's finish date to calculate start date. The finish date of activity is 1 day before the earliest start of activity's successors. Use min method to evaluate to the earliest start date of activity's successors. Activity's start date is calculated by calling endDate function with negative period, starting from activity's finish date. Float or slack is an indicator telling that activities with float can be deferred by the amount of the float without impact on the project execution, meaning, no compromise with project finish date. The float is computed by comparing the early schedule and the late schedule of the same activity, either start date or finish date, for every activity. Instead of iteration, a series for float is obtained by subtracting a series for late finish from a series for early finish using operator, minus. Critical path analysis is implemented successfully, and it is necessary to update the schedule data with analysis outcome incorporated into early start, early finish, late start, late finish and float. List comprehension is used in place of iteration method and at the same time, expression to convert into the required data type is included. Early start, early finish, late start and late finish are in year, month, and date using date method. Activity float is cast to integer after removing days using days method. Now we are going to write critical path analysis result on the worksheet before starting to draw Gantt chart. Firstly, create a new data frame containing data consisting of start, finish, late finish, and float. Pandas data frame constructor is used. Write the resulting schedule data on the worksheet by specifying worksheet name, range, and the new data frame. The analysis is over, and we are going to discuss about a way to visualize the analysis result on the worksheet, starting from Gantt chart template. Clean up chart area for new Gantt chart. Find last column using last_cell.column property and delete chart area including schedule template. Set row height and set text vertical alignment to center. The schedule template is composed of 3 tiers to make Gantt chart framework. Gantt chart is displayed under the 3 tiers template, starting from column, contiguous with schedule data range. The first column of template, column L, represents first day of project start month and last column is last day of project end month. First day of the next month minus time delta days 1 gives last day of the month. The template is 3 tiers. Top row shows month year by extracting month and year of each column. Row 2 shows short weekday, first character of full weekday name. Weekday method is used as index of dayname _ short tuple. Row 3 shows date by using day property. Top, middle and bottom template data are combined to make a data frame using zip and list method. The template data is organized vertically and requires transposition to horizontal arrangement. The template data is written in top 3 rows on the worksheet. Every month year over multiple cells are merged into one using merge method. Find cells for holidays and non-work weekdays and highlight the cells with different color such as red. Activity bar is drawn using add shape method. The type of shape is rectangle with constant 1. Left coordinate is the column where activity start date coincides schedule template date at the left end of the column. Top coordinate is the row where activity is entered at top end of the row. Width is the number of columns extending from start date column to activity end date column. Height is 35% row height considering 2 bars, one for early schedule and another for late schedule and spacing between the 2 bars in a single row. Critical activities with 0 float are differentiated from non-critical activities with different colors. Relationship is represented by connector to activity bar from its predecessor bar. Draw connector using add connector method. Elbow connector, type 2, with end arrow style of stealth bomber, style 4, is used. The connector is glued to predecessor bar and activity bar using connector format.beginConnect and connect format.inConnect method. Connection site varies by different relationship logic. For example, 4 to 2 for FS logic. Late schedule bar starts from the column of the same date on schedule template date. Top coordinate is below early schedule bar in activity row. Width is the number of columns extending from late start date to late end date. Late schedule does not display relationship connectors. Z-order method is used to send back the late schedule bars so that connectors drawn earlier are not hidden by the late schedule bars. Chart area format is finished for better appearance. Width of columns is set to value declared at top of Python program, chart_column width. You may adjust narrower or wider to fit your preference. Border width and color of the chart are lighter than schedule data area. Part 3 is concerned with how to make Excel as working platform without need to access the Python program codes. This is possible by Excel's user interface enabling communication with Python program. This part 3 discusses 2 methods for user interfaces, modify Python code to enable Excel user interface, and conduct demo runs based on the 2 methods, each. 2 methods are discussed, how to run Python module from Excel. One method is to create custom Excel macro, and then create a simple user interface assigning the macro to it. Another method is based on xlwings control to be added to Excel ribbon. Control button is built in the xlwings control panel. This method does not require Excel macro. It is certain that xlwings is already installed when we develop Python program. Open command prompt. Go to path where the package installer for Python, pip, is available. Type pip install xlwings on it. To install xlwings addin to Excel. Type xlwings addin install on the command prompt. xlwings.slam is installed under a new folder Excel start. xlwings addin is loaded to Excel and a tab named xlwings is added to the ribbon. Now we need to modify Python program to allow Excel to coordinate with Python. Establish connection of Excel based on xlwings using xlwings bookcaller method. Create main function named main to encapsulate Python program. The main function is called by xlwings control panel on the ribbon. RunPython method is used to run Python from Excel. To use RunPython method, it is necessary to have reference to the xlwings. To do so, in Excel VBA code editor go to the Tools tab and then to the References to view available references. Check the checkbox for xlwings and press OK button. Create a macro to run Python program. View Project Explorer and insert a module. Give your preferred and meaningful name to the module, like MD_CPA. Write VBA code inside the module with RunPython method. RunPython method has two arguments separated by semicolon inside double quotes. First argument is import statement followed by Python file name, ganttwclass.py, without extension. Second argument is the combination of Python file name and function name in the file. RunPython, import ganttwclass, ganttwclass.main. Set the application.screenUpdating property to false when writing data to a worksheet or performing any other actions not to cause changes to the display. There are several methods to create user interface on Excel to activate macro. This time, we are discussing a simple user interface adding a macro to the Quick Access toolbar. Create a control button on the Quick Access toolbar. Go to File tab. Select Options at the left pane. Select Quick Access toolbar at the left pane of Excel Options panel. Customize Quick Access toolbar dialog pops up. Choose macros in the box of Choose Commands from. Select the name of macro, CPA_Python, to run. Press Add button to move the name of macro to the right list. Press Modify if you want change default icon to your preferred one. Press OK and the command is added in the Quick Access toolbar. To run macro, press the button on the Quick Access toolbar. Running Python program using xlwings control panel on the ribbon. When xlwings addin is installed, a new tab named xlwings is created on the ribbon. In the Python group of the tab, specify interpreter and Python path. Enter full path to the python.exe. Enter the directory where both Python module and Excel file are located. Python module name is same as Excel file name. Python module contains a main function named main. Press Run Main button at the left end of xlwings control panel to run the Python program. We are running the Gantt chart program based on each different interface. Press a button on the Access toolbar. Since screen updating is set to false, we notice that Gantt chart is produced without displaying changes. Press Run Main button in the xlwings tab on the ribbon. The changes in the course of program run are being displayed. Plan is to implement Gantt chart program using classes in the next video. Further plan is to develop PERT and schedule risk analysis program. Download the program for your use and give feedback. Feel free to contact. Thanks for watching.